皆さん、こんにちは。楽天証券の山口です。プロの視点や資産管理ノウハウをハックし、投資の理論を大真面目に学ぶ番組、ファンドマネジメントハック。前回に引き続き、NISA 積立投資枠唯一のインド株式ファンドでございます、アイトラストインド株式の、運用責任者でいらっしゃいます、プラシャント小谷さんにお話を伺っていきます。プラシャントさん、よろしくお願いいたします。
Thank you for having me here.
さて、前回はですね、本当にこのインドの知らなかった部分などたくさん教えていただきまして、インドの成長の背景について深く知ることができました。本日は、プラシャントさんにですね、アクティブファンドマネージャーの視点から、インドで注目している有望な投資テーマや具体的な銘柄について伺っていきたいと思います。で、その前にですね、プラシャントさんに一点お伺いしたいのですが、現在、実は日本ではインドに投資を行う投資信託がかなり多く存在しておりまして、その中ではNifty50などの、インデックスファンドなども大変人気になっております。で、一方で、やはり新興国への投資においては、以前、インドでも話題になったアダニ問題などありましたけれども、一企業の動きが非常にパフォーマンスに影響を与えることも多くなっておりまして、しっかりその銘柄選定を行うアクティブファンドの方が有利というお話もよくお聞きするんですけれども、プラシャントさんはインド株のインデックスファンドについてはどうお考えでしょうか？
So see, India is a very dynamic market. There's a lot of growth happening in different pockets.It won't be easy for an index fund to actually capture all of that easily, right? I mean, Nifty 50 would just be the top 50 largest companies, but there's a lot of exciting things happening under that, right? And therefore, it becomes easier to kind of capture those opportunities if you're using an active fund, because active fund manager has the liberty to actually go out of the index and really capture those opportunities. That is one. And second, as you mentioned, like there are these cases where the governance is a little bit questionable. And again, an active manager has the choice to steer away from them so that the investors' money is also protected while capturing the potential that India offers. So I believe that for India, at least at this moment of time, the active approach to investing seems much better rather than going the index route.
ありがとうございます。ではそんなアクティブファンドの強みもお伺いしたところで、早速ですが現在注目されている投資テーマについてお聞かせいただければと思います。
Okay, so India has many exciting investment themes, and maybe we'll just talk about a few of them today. The first thing we want to talk about is the growing financial savings in India. Okay, so as you can see in these numbers here, the savings rate in India is already very high, as you mentioned, about 30% of income is getting saved. And where is that going? That's going increasingly into financial assets. So whether it is bank deposits or mutual funds or insurance, so all of that has grown multifold in the last kind of 15, 20 years. And that's continuing to grow because the penetration levels are still low in India. One example of that is a bank called ICICI Bank in India. Now that's the second largest private sector bank in India. It's one of the most finely managed banks in India. A very customer-centric approach, very disciplined when it comes to how they think about their credit underwriting. And that's how they make like about 17-18% return on equity year after year while growing their book by like 15% every year. And this not just a bank, they also own some of the best businesses in India when it comes to asset management, insurance, even broking. So it's more like a financial conglomerate which is actually doing very well and compounding every year. Now, interestingly, this bank was not this good if you have to go back 10 years. Now they had a CEO change in 2018, and that's when the fortunes of the bank also changed. But we being more kind of investors who are caring about the value that we are paying when we are entering the stock, we waited for our opportunity. The opportunity came after COVID struck. So in March 2020, when actually COVID was there, stock price dropped, and that's when we entered into this stock. Stock has already gone up like more than 4 times since then. The second interesting theme in India is healthcare theme. Now, why it is interesting? Because India, while it is a young country, it's also aging. It's a very large country, right? So there are still a lot of old people out there, and old age comes with its old age diseases, things like diabetes, things like heart diseases. India is considered the diabetes capital of the world. I mean, there are some dietary habits and stuff which also leads to that, but there are like about 100 million diabetes patients in India. That's the extent of it. And what it is resulting into is that obviously these patients need good care. These patients need good quality medicines. Okay, and in India, healthcare is more of a out-of-pocket type of an expense. So it's not being provided by government. People are paying out of their own pocket, which means they care a lot about the brands. They care about who can actually reach them. So distribution becomes important. So it is interesting that these companies still have a very long path to grow while capturing this market opportunity, which is still compounding in double digits. Like if you were to see in this chart here, the organized hospital chains only account for 2% of hospital beds in India. So they can keep on expanding, they can keep on taking share of the unorganized sector and still grow at a very high rate for many, many years to come. If you were to think about what kind of stocks that kind of results into, one of the stocks that we held for like last 13 years has been Torrent Pharma. And in these 13 years, it's interesting, the stock has actually gone up 13 times. So it has been a tremendous compounder for us. Now, why that has happened? Simply because this company is operating in the chronic medicine space. Chronic medicines are the ones used by people who are suffering from chronic diseases like diabetes, like heart ailments. So these diseases require very long-term type of treatments. And that is where they specialize in, which allows them to make high margins. So this company, while very good on this business, has also been adding value through very smart acquisitions which they do. And that's the result that we are seeing in their numbers today. Now, the third interesting theme is the IT services theme. Now, that actually harnesses the demographic advantage that India has, which is, as I mentioned, the largest number of science graduates coming out of colleges every year is from India. And what you're seeing is that these are people who are not just good in engineering skills, but also because India is a colony of Britishers, they're also very good in English. And that makes them well suitable for servicing the global enterprises. And what you see on the enterprise level technology, if you have to go back in the last 20, 25 years, is that the technology stack keeps on changing. It keeps on evolving, right? Maybe 25 years back, it was the Y2K problem that everybody wanted to solve. Okay. And after that, maybe Oracle came, then maybe SAP came, and then cloud came. And now we are seeing the emergence of AI now in the world. All of that needs somebody for enterprises to handhold them onto the next level of technology. And that is where the Indian IT services companies come into play. This Gen AI is also a very exciting theme because that's a whole new paradigm which is emerging, and companies need that support from some vendor. And that is where Indian IT companies are helping, because this is a very accelerating, very fast growing theme out there. One interesting stock that we have in that space is Hexaware. Now, this is a kind of a middle-sized IT services company, which has been really growing very well, much ahead of the industry levels in the last many years. And what they have developed is now very specialized capabilities on AI services. Now, one of their products, for example, is RapidX. Now, what that product does is it helps the organizations modernize their legacy technology stack in a very fast manner. So there are companies sitting with their legacy codes which are written maybe 20 years back, maybe 30 years back. Nobody even understands that code anymore because it was it was not very well documented. Maybe there have been a lot of patch works on that code. So what this company has developed is this product called RapidX, which actually looks at that code and it is able to reverse engineer the business logic behind it. So the usual code development is from business logic going to the code, but this company is able to use this product to do it in a reverse way. So it means it is looking at those 30-year-old codes and then finding the business logic behind that, and then figuring out what the new code should look like. And that is actually helping a lot of these old age kind of companies rapidly modernize their technology stack. Okay, so the last thing we want to talk about is the internet economy. Why that is interesting, India is late to that party. The internet sector has kind of developed in other countries much faster than what it has in India. So India is still kind of on a growth path out there. One very interesting theme emerging in India is that of quick commerce. Now that is online delivery of groceries. Okay, so the online food delivery is very common across the world, but grocery delivery is not so much. And that is an area which is developing very fast in India. Now there are these companies who are setting up what they call as the dark stores. So these are not the stores where you and me can go and shop. There are stores just for delivery, maybe in some back alley or something, from where if you were to order, your order will reach in like 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, that kind of a time interval, which essentially means that the consumers don't need to step out of their house to buy any grocery. They can simply click few buttons on their app and the groceries will be there at their doorstep in 15, 20 minutes. So that's a business which is scaling up very fast. One interesting example of that is a company called Zomato, or rather Eternal now, which we're invested in. Now that company is already a market leader on the food delivery space, and then they started this grocery delivery, where again they are the market leaders, and they are able to provide the fastest delivery times in India, and they have the biggest network also of these stores in India. And this company is very, very efficient in terms of their operations, by which they're able to have these average delivery times of like 13 minutes, which is just crazy. But that is actually changing the grocery buying habits of Indian consumers. Our belief is that this company has the potential to become the largest retailer in India, not just of groceries, but also of other things, because a lot of e-commerce is moving to such instant type of delivery system. Again, interestingly, how we bought this stock is not when everybody has discovered this story. We bought this stock 3 years back when there was no grocery delivery business in the site. It was the largest food delivery company then, but there was a lot of pessimism about what will happen to their margins and stuff. And that is when we looked at this stock and said, okay, this is a very cheap stock. They had like 1/3 of their market capitalization in cash alone. So it was a very fundamentally very cheap stock for us, while having these optionalities which have actually come to fruition. And that's how the stock is maybe up like 5 times in the last 3 years.
ありがとうございます。このクイックコマース、最後のクイックコマースなんですけれども、私ちょっとこの言葉実はあまり知らなくてですね、自分でちょっと調べてみたんですけれども、フードデリバリーとかネットスーパーとも、ちょっと違った業態であるということで、インドである種独自に発達を遂げたビジネスのように思いました。本当に先ほどご説明いただいたように、家を一歩も出ずにですね、本当5分、10分で、日用品、食料品が届くというサービスということなんですが、このようなビジネスが、どのようにして実現してきた、で、流行してきたのでしょうか。その、文化的背景なものって、インド独特のものってあるんでしょうか。
Okay, so that's a very good question indeed. So in India, there are some unique features why this business actually become viable. See, this is a service which probably everybody in the world would want to have, but cannot have because the business is not viable everywhere. Why it is viable in India is simply because the income inequality is very large. So there are people who are very wealthy and there are people who are very poor. Now, these poor people are the ones who actually become the riders who are actually taking these orders from the dark store to the consumer houses. Okay, and the consumer houses are obviously the wealthier section of the people. And because of this income inequality, you are able to actually have a viable business out of it. The second reason simply is that the cities in India are very densely populated, which means that a rider does not need to travel too much before he or she reaches the consumer's house. Okay, so that density of population actually helps a lot. And the third thing is probably, I don't know, it's just my hypothesis, maybe Indians are just too lazy and therefore they don't want to get out of their house. Maybe it's the climate also, it's very hot usually in India, so they don't want to step out of their house to buy their groceries. And it's much better to just sit on your sofa, open your app, click few buttons and get your groceries.
ちょっと追加でご質問しちゃうんですけれども、インドの方って外食とかってされるんですか？あんまりされない、お家からあんまり出ないんですかね
？No, so see, Indians do go out. They go out to eat at restaurants. They go out to see movies. So they do go out, but for them it's an experience to go out, right? Buying groceries is not an enjoyable experience, right? So you would rather kind of save your time to do much better leisure activities than that.
はい。ということで、この注目企業なんかを見てもですね、非常にそのインドの特徴的な、ところが現れているなというふうに、お聞きしていて思いました。ということで、いろいろと銘柄紹介も、教えて、ご紹介いただいてきたんですけれども、やはりですね、インドと言いますと、財閥系の企業が強いという印象があるんですが、タタグループ、リライアンスグループ、ビルラグループという、三大財閥などもあるかと思うんですけれども、このあたりは、あまり、ファンドとしては、投資はされてないんでしょうか？
So no, we have some investments in all of these groups actually. At the moment, if you were to look at, from Tata Group, we have Titan, which is the largest jewelry company of India. Reliance, we are invested in the main company itself. From Birla Group, we are invested in Hindalco, which is the largest aluminum producer of India. So no, we are not averse to investing in these large conglomerates. Having said that, obviously these conglomerates can be a little bit slow. I mean, simply because they've been very old, been around for too long, so maybe more bureaucratic. And therefore, when it comes to, let's say, more exciting, fast-growing opportunities, these are usually not the groups who would be successful in them. It would usually be some new age entrepreneur-driven companies who would be kind of working hard in finding success there. So yes, we have to kind of balance where they are strong. Some of these traditional businesses where maybe capital is important, maybe trust is important, and that's where these old conglomerates succeed. But wherever the speed of execution matters more, then it's the new age companies which would usually be better.
それでは最後にですね、プラシャントさんが大事にされている投資の考え方について教えていただけますでしょうか。
So maybe I'll just start with a quote from the very famous investor Warren Buffett on the power of patience. Now, he said that stock market is a machine which is designed to transfer money from the active to the patient. Okay, so we are essentially trying to be those type of investors in India, that the long-term patient capital is what stands the best chance in India to make great returns, and that is who we are trying to be in India. Now, one very interesting illustration that we kind of see of that is in this chart here, which is that if you were to look at India in the last kind of 25 years, there have obviously been markets ups and downs which happened, and usually when the markets go down, people become a little bit nervous. They start thinking that maybe it's the time to panic and sell out because there's some negative news out there. But what we have found, interestingly, is that those are actually the best opportunities to buy more rather than sell. And we did a statistical analysis of this. There are like 25 instances we found when markets went down by 15% or more in a 6-month period. And what would happen if you were to invest then, right? That would be the obvious question to ask. So if you invest at that point of time, you would look that after 1 year, your average return would be 38%. Okay, your average 3-year return would be 64%. Your average 5-year, your average 10-year returns would be in triple digits. Okay, and it is not just kind of few data points which are supporting this. It's actually that on a 1-year time frame, the number of times it was positive was like 68%. So almost 2/3 chance that you would make returns after that 15% downfall. And on a 3-year scale, it was like 92%. On a 5-year, 10 years, 100%. All of the times you made money. So the point here is that Indian markets are on this secular bull trend up. Okay, and therefore any such kind of chances whenever the markets go down have actually been chances to put more money into the market rather than take it out. And this is something which can be done only by patient, long-term investors. And that is what we are trying to be out there. It is obviously not something that we guarantee will continue to happen in the future, but the history gives us some confidence, some comfort that the odds are on our side. Whenever markets go down is when we should start thinking about investing more. So if you have to look at India kind of returns in the last 25 years, when Indian markets have outperformed significantly, right? When it comes versus the rest of the global markets, they're up like more than almost 3 times versus them. And we believe that the ingredients which have helped India grow so much are still present. So even the next kind of 10, 20 years still look so much more promising to us. Now, how should one kind of think about investing in India? Okay, what is the right recipe? We think that given this combination that India has of very strong demographics, democracy, and discipline that we spoke about, they actually come together to make India a very favorable, attractive destination for long-term investors. And how should they invest? We think the recipe is simple. First, find quality stocks. Second, wait patiently for these stocks to actually become cheap. Third, whenever they become cheap, buy a lot of them and make a concentrated portfolio out of them. Okay, and then just keep on repeating this process with discipline. Because if you do that, then you will see that the outcomes are really, really favorable.
なるほど。ありがとうございます。 やはりですね、インド、結構ボラタイルな局面もありますけれども、やはりすごく成長力のある、先ほどのですね、世界株式との比較を見ても、非常に成長力の高い、市場であるというふうに思いますし、やはり、投資においては、あまりその、国によって違うということはあまりないのかなというふうに思いました。やはり、しっかりとですね、下がった時にも投資を継続して、そこで逆に買いを入れて、しっかりその機会を捉えていくというところは、どこもですね、変わらない哲学なのかなというふうに思いました。はい。で、ここまでですね、2回にわたってインドの市場の展望や、3つの構造、有望なビジネス、投資テーマについても教えていただきましたが、本当にですね、ユニークですし、だけれども、強い構造を持っているということで、非常に、興味深く聞かせていただきました。実際にこの成長力ですね、肌で感じるために私もちょっとインドに行ってみたいなと思いました。はい。それではですね、ここまで2回にわたり、インドについて詳しく教えていただきました。プラシャントさん、どうもありがとうございました。
ありがとうございました。